Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Kajal Jindal from University of Delhi. Today we are going to talk on module Time-Independent Schrödinger Equation, Stationary States and Energy Spectra from the paper Quantum Mechanics. So students, let us see what we are going to learn in this module. In this module, we will learn how to separate the time-independent Schrödinger equation into time-independent and time-dependent parts and thus write the time-independent Schrödinger equation as an eigenvalue equation for energy eigenvalue and the corresponding eigenfunctions. Also, we will solve the time-independent one-dimensional Schrödinger equation for an attractive square well potential. We will find the discrete energy spectrum of a quantum mechanical particle and the corresponding eigenfunctions. We will learn that for a potential which is symmetric about the origin, there exist even and odd parity states. Also, we will find a striking quantum mechanical feature of these eigenfunctions which show a finite probability, that is, non-zero probability of the particle being outside the range of the potential. In this module, we discuss the solutions of stationary states and energy spectra of time-independent Schrödinger equation. We take a specific example of a square well attractive potential and solve one-dimensional Schrödinger equation to obtain the discrete spectrum of energy eigenvalues for values of E less than 0 and the corresponding eigenfunctions. Given the potential which is symmetric about the x-axis, the energy eigenfunctions are found to have definite parity states, that is, odd or even parity. A striking feature of the wave function of a quantum mechanical particle bound in a square well potential is that there exists a finite probability of the particle being even outside the range of the potential. This is in contrast to the classical case where the particle can strictly be confined within the range of potential. We now begin with discussing the energy eigenvalues and eigenfunctions. We consider the particular case when potential energy V of the particle does not depend on time. In such a case, the Schrödinger equation given as I h cut del psi of RT by del T is equal to a Hamiltonian operator acting on psi of RT, where Hamiltonian operator is equal to minus of h cut square by 2m into del square plus V of R admits of considerable simplification. We can then write a particular solution of the form psi of RT is equal to psi of R f of t, which is separable in space and time coordinates. We shall see that the general solution can be expressed as a sum of such separable solutions. Now, substituting this equation into the first and applying the method of separation of variables, we have I h cut psi of R d phi of t by dt is equal to, within the square brackets, minus h cut square by 2m del square psi of R plus V of R psi of R square brackets close into f of t. Now, dividing both sides of this equation by the wave functions, psi of RT is equal to psi of R into f of t, we get I h cut 1 by f of t df of t by dt is equal to 1 by psi of R into, within the square brackets, minus h cut square by 2m del square psi of R plus V of R into psi of R brackets close. Here we note that since the left hand side depends only on t and the right hand side only on R, So both sides must be equal to a constant. Since this constant has the dimensions of energy, so we denote it by E. We therefore get the two equations. I h cut df by dt is equal to E times f of t, and the second equation is minus h cut square by 2m into del square plus v of r, this entire term within the square brackets multiplied by psi of r is equal to E times psi of r. The first equation on integration gives f of t is equal to c times exponent minus I times et by h cut, where c is the arbitrary constant. Since both the equations are homogeneous equations, we can write without loss of generality, put c is equal to 1 and write the solution as psi of rt is equal to psi of r into exponent minus iota et by h cut. Now, applying the time derivative operator given by I h cut del by del t to both sides, we get I h cut del of psi of rt by del t is equal to E times psi of rt. This equation is called an eigenvalue equation, where psi is said to be an eigenfunction of the operator which is appearing on the left, and the constant E which is appearing on the right is called the corresponding eigenvalue. Thus, energy eigenfunction psi represents the stationary state of the particle, since modulus of psi square is constant in time. Now, equation for the wave function psi of r is also an eigenvalue equation. It states that psi of r is an eigenfunction of the operator minus h cut square by 2m del square plus v of r, which is having the same eigenvalue E. Remembering that the Hamiltonian operator of the particle is given by the operator h is equal to minus h cut square by 2m del square plus v of r. Thus, we may write this equation as an eigenvalue equation as h cut psi of r is equal to, within the square brackets, minus h cut square by 2m into del square plus v of r bracket close psi of r is equal to E times psi of r. We assume that the energy eigenvalues E are the only possible results of the precise measurements of total energy of the particle. To show this, we first note that E is real. Clearly, for the separable wave functions of the form given by equation 8, the position probability density is given by P of RT is equal to psi star of RT into psi RT. This is equal to psi star of R into psi of R into exponent minus iota by h cut into E minus E star brackets close times T. Now, from the probability conservation and assuming that psi is a square integrable, we get E minus E star into the integral psi star of RT into psi RT dr is equal to 0. Thus, it follows that E is equal to E star, and which signifies that E is real. We therefore state that the eigenvalues E of time-independent Schrödinger equation are real, and also the Hamiltonian is Hermitian, which is implied by the probability conservation. Further, we find from the calculation of the expectation value of total energy in a state described by wave equation represented by equation 8, we get the expectation value of E is equal to the integral of psi star RT into I h cut del by del t into psi of RT dr. This is equal to integral psi star RT into Hamiltonian operator acting on psi of RT dr, which is equal to E. In other words, E is equal to the expectation value of H, which is equal to the expectation value of T plus V, where T signifies the kinetic energy and V the potential. Here, we assume that psi is normalized to unity. We have thus shown the eigenvalues E are the only possible results of the precise measurements corresponding to the expectation value of the total energy in the state described by equation 8. Let us now discuss the continuity conditions. We know that equation 10 is a second order linear differential equation in R. Thus, so long as V of R is finite, whether it is continuous or not, a knowledge of the wave function and its gradient along a surface makes it possible to integrate the equation to obtain wave function at any given point. It is therefore reasonable to demand that the wave function and its derivative be continuous, finite, single-valued at every point in space, so that a definite physical situation can be represented uniquely by a wave function. These requirements will also ensure that the position probability density and the probability current density defined earlier are continuous everywhere. Let us now discuss the energy spectrum and energy eigenfunctions. Now, looking for the solution of the energy eigenvalue in equation 10, the question that still remains unanswered is, given any arbitrary real value for E, does there exist a corresponding eigenfunction psi E of R? The answer is no. The reason is that equation 10 would satisfy the admissibility conditions only for certain specific values of E. Only these special values are to be considered as eigenvalues. The set of all such admissible values of E is called the eigenvalue spectrum of energy, and the corresponding wave functions are called the eigenfunctions. Consider a simple system to illustrate it. We take the example of a particle in one-dimensional square well potential. So, we consider a particle whose potential energy equation has the shape of a well with vertical sides as depicted in the figure as shown, and is defined by V of x is equal to 0 for x less than minus a, which is defined as the region 1 in the graph. Then, for x lying between minus a to a, V of x is equal to minus V naught, which is defined as region 2 in the graph. For x greater than a, V of x is equal to 0, which is defined as region 3 in the graph. Let us now discuss classical vis-a-vis quantum mechanical picture. From the point of view of classical mechanics, we know that the kinetic energy, which is the difference of total energy minus potential energy, that is E minus V, can never be negative. For the region defined by mod of x greater than a, the potential V is equal to 0. Therefore, E minus V will be positive only if E is greater than 0. In other words, any particle with E less than 0 cannot enter regions 1 and 3 and will therefore have to stay within the potential well between x is equal to a and x is equal to minus a. That is, we can say that particle is confined within the potential. If, however, the particle has energy E which is greater than 0, it can move anywhere. It would experience momentary force when it crosses the point x is equal to minus a and x is equal to plus a. Let us now study the picture of this system from the point of view of quantum mechanics, considering only the stationary states described by equation 10 and restricting ourselves to one-dimensional case. The equation reduces to minus h cut square by 2m d2 psi by dx square is equal to E psi for modulus x greater than a, and it is given by minus h cut square by 2m d2 psi by dx square minus v naught psi is equal to E psi for mod x less than a. To solve this system of equations, let us first consider the case when E is less than 0, corresponding to the case when the system is bound. Now, we discuss the bound states in square well where E is less than 0. For this, we have the admissible solutions of wave function as consider the case E is less than 0. Let us write 2m E by h cut square equals minus alpha square and 2m into E plus v naught by h cut square equals beta square, where alpha beta is greater than 0. The above equations can now be expressed in terms of the constants alpha square and beta square as d2 psi by dx square minus alpha square psi is equal to 0 for mod x greater than a, and d2 psi by dx square plus beta square psi is equal to 0 for mod x less than a. The general solution of the second equation is clearly given by psi of x in the region 2 is equal to a times cos beta x plus b times sin beta x, where a and b are arbitrary constants. In region 1, the solution of equation 18a is a linear combination of two independent solutions, exponent of alpha x and exponent of minus alpha x. However, in the region 1, where x is negative, the second solution does not remain finite, as it goes to infinity. Thus, the only admissible solution in region 1 is of the form psi of x in region 1 is equal to c times exponent of alpha x. The region 3, which corresponds to x greater than a, which is less than infinity, has a solution also governed by the equation 18a, which has two independent solutions, exponent of alpha x and exponent of minus alpha x. But this time it is exponent minus alpha x, which is well behaved everywhere, and the solution exponent alpha x is no longer admissible. It goes to infinity as x becomes infinitely large. We therefore have psi of x in region 3 is equal to d times exponent minus alpha x, where c and d are the constants to be determined. We now require that the wave functions and their derivatives in the three regions must be continuous everywhere, which is demanded by the admissibility criteria. In particular, at the point x is equal to a, where the regions 1 and 2 meet, we require that psi in region 1 is equal to psi in region 2, and the first order derivatives of psi with respect to x in region 1 and 2 are equal. Or explicitly, I can write the equations c times exponent minus alpha a is equal to a times cos beta a minus b times sin beta a. And according to the first order derivative equation, we have c times alpha into exponent minus alpha a is equal to a times beta into sin beta a plus b times beta into cos beta a. Similarly, at x is equal to a, where regions 2 and 3 meet, we have the conditions psi in region 2 is equal to psi in region 3, and the first order derivative of psi with respect to x in regions 2 and 3 are equal at x is equal to a. Written explicitly, these equations give d times exponent minus alpha a is equal to a times cos beta a plus b times sin beta a, and minus g alpha into exponent minus alpha a is equal to minus a beta into sin beta a plus b times beta into cos beta a. From the above equations, we get 2a cos beta a is equal to c plus g into exponent minus alpha a. The other equations are 2 times a beta into sin beta a is equal to c plus g times alpha into exponent minus alpha a. The next equation is 2 times b sin beta a is equal to minus of c minus g into exponent minus alpha a. The last equation is 2b times beta into cos beta a is equal to c minus g into alpha into exponent of minus alpha a. From equations 26, we find that if c plus g is not equal to 0, then a is not equal to 0. And dividing equation 26b by equation 26a, we have alpha is equal to beta times tan beta a. The next two equations show that for equation 27a to be valid, we must have c is equal to d and b is equal to 0, and hence we have d is equal to a times exponent alpha a into cos beta a. To verify this, let us substitute equation 27a for alpha in equation 26g and then multiply the equation by sin beta a, and using equation 26c we obtain minus of c minus g into cos square beta a is equal to c minus g into sin square beta a, which clearly show that c is equal to d, or we have c minus g into cos square beta a plus sin square beta a is equal to 0. Equations 27 give us one set of solutions. Another set of solutions exists for c not equal to d and b not equal to 0, which we get from equations 26c and 26g. Thus, we have alpha is equal to minus beta into cot beta a. Repetition of the arguments given above show that now c is equal to minus g and a is equal to 0. In this case, equation 26 give d is equal to b times exponent alpha a into sin beta a. We next discuss the energy eigenvalues. We shall now see that both types of the solutions obtained above give rise to certain discrete values of the energy parameter. Let us first note that equation 17 can be simplified to alpha square plus beta square into a square is equal to 2m v naught a square by h cut square, which is equal to v naught by delta, where delta is equal to h cut square by 2m a square. The parameter delta admits of an interesting interpretation. The potential well has half width a, which indicates the uncertainty in the position of the particle confined to the well. Associated with this, there is an uncertainty of the order of h cut by a in the momentum. Therefore, parameter delta corresponding to the energy h cut square by a square divided by 2m is a natural unit in terms of which the depth of the potential may be measured. In other words, the dimensionless parameter v naught by delta defined by equation give a measure of strength of the potential. Further, note that the equation alpha by beta is equal to tan of beta A gives us the relation between beta and alpha, which are defined to be positive. This shows that from this equation, only the values of beta A which lie in the intervals beta A greater than equal to 2n times pi by 2 and less than equal to 2n plus 1 times pi by 2, where n can takes up the values 0, 1, 2 and so on, are admissible. Also note that the substitution of the relation into equation 29 leads to the result that V naught by delta is equal to beta square A square into secant square beta A, or the square root of delta by V naught into beta A is equal to modulus of cos beta A. The modulus sign is used because the left hand side of the equation is known to be positive. Similarly, for the second type of solutions of the wave equation, we find from equations 28a and 29 that the values of beta A greater than equal to 2n minus 1 pi by 2 and less than equal to 2n times pi by 2, where n takes up the values 1, 2, 3 and so on, and V naught by delta is equal to beta square A square into cosecant square beta A, and the square root of delta by V naught into beta A is equal to modulus of sin beta A. Equations 31 and 32 can be satisfied only by certain discrete values of beta which can be found graphically. We now discuss the graphical solutions of these transcendental equations. These values of, as you can see in the figure, these values of beta Ra are determined by the intersections of the straight line with the curves for modulus of cos beta A and modulus of sin beta A. The parts of modulus cos beta A and modulus sin beta A which lie within the respective allowed intervals given by conditions 31a and 32a are shown as red and green lines respectively in this figure. As you can see from the figure, if the intersections occur at beta is equal to beta r, where r takes up the values 0, 1, 2 and so on, the corresponding values of the energy are obtained from equation 17 as Er is equal to minus h cut square by 2m into beta r square minus V naught, which is equal to, within the square brackets, beta r a whole square into delta by V naught minus 1 bracket close into V naught. Note that the values of the combination of parameters appearing in the square bracket may be read directly from the figure. Clearly, the number of these energy levels is finite. We can check from the figure that if the square root of delta by V naught into beta A reaches the value unity for a value of beta A lying in the interval beta A greater than equal to pi n by 2 and less than equal to pi by 2 times n plus 1, then there are n plus 1 intersections. In other words, the number of discrete energy is n plus 1 if 1 is greater than equal to pi by 2 into n into square root of delta by V naught and less than equal to pi by 2 into n plus 1 into square root of delta by V naught. Or if we can say that 2 by pi into square root of V naught by delta is greater than equal to n and less than n plus 1. Note that there is at least one bound state, however weak the potential is. We now discuss the energy eigenfunctions and parity. we find that the energy levels En with n is equal to 0, 2, 4 corresponds to solutions represented by equation 27. For the three regions, the forms are explicitly written as psi of x in region 1, where x is less than minus a, is equal to a times e raised to pi alpha into n raised to pi a into cos beta n a into exponent alpha n x. Similarly, for x in the region less than a and greater than minus a, sin of x in region 2 is equal to a times cos beta n x. For values of x greater than a, sin of x in region 3 is equal to, within the brackets, a times e raised to pi alpha into n raised to pi a into cos beta n a bracket close into exponent minus alpha n of x. These functions are shown graphically in the figure. Clearly, these functions are symmetric about the origin, which may be seen in the figure. The eigenfunction n is equal to 0 is colored green, n is equal to 2 is yellow, and n is equal to 4 is violet in figure. Note that ground state eigenfunction has no node, whereas the state n is equal to 2 has 2 nodes and the state n is equal to 4 has 4 nodes. In general, any wave function which is characterized by sin of x is equal to sin of minus x, that is, it remains symmetric for x going to minus x, is said to have even parity. Thus, this gives us the definition of even parity eigenfunctions. The eigenfunctions corresponding to n is equal to odd values, which are 1, 3, 5 and so on, are given by equation 28 and can be explicitly written as sin of x in region 1 is equal to minus of, within the brackets, b into e raised to pi alpha into n raised to pi a into sin beta n a brackets close into exponent of alpha n x, where x is less than minus a, and sin of x in region 2 is equal to b times sin beta n x, where x lies in the interval minus a to a. In region 3, sin of x is defined as b times e raised to pi alpha into n raised to pi a into sin beta n a into exponent minus alpha n x, where x is greater than a. This is shown graphically in figure. The state n is equal to 1 is colored as violet, n is equal to 3 as orange, and n is equal to 5 as green in the figure. These odd parity states are antisymmetric under the interchange x going to minus x. That is, sin of x is equal to minus times sin of minus x. The fact that the eigenfunctions have even or odd parity is a consequence of the symmetry property of the potential V with respect to the origin. We now move on to discuss the finite probability for a particle to penetrate outside the potential. From the figures 2 and 3, one can clearly notice that these bound state eigenfunctions of a quantum mechanical particle have non-vanishing values and are finite even outside the range of the potential. This shows that there exists a finite probability for the particle to penetrate even outside the potential. This result is in striking contrast to classical mechanics, where the motion of the particle is strictly confined within the given potential. From the bound state eigenfunctions given by equations 35 and 36, it is simple to observe that as one goes from the boundary point, that is x is equal to minus a or x is equal to a, the probability density, which is the square of modulus psi x, decrease rapidly proportional to exponential of minus 2 alpha mod x to 0 for large mod x. This provides an illustration of a quantum mechanical feature of fundamental importance. Here, we have so far considered the situation where E is less than 0. That is, all the states are bound. In the next module, we shall discuss the case for E greater than 0, where the energy spectrum is a continuum. So students, let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. In this module, we learned to reduce the time-dependent Schrödinger equation into time-independent and time-independent parts and thus write the time-independent Schrödinger equation as an eigenvalue equation. Also, we solved the time-independent one-dimensional Schrödinger equation for an attractive square well potential. We find out the discrete energy spectrum of a quantum mechanical particle and the corresponding eigenfunctions. We know that for a potential which is symmetric about the origin, there exist even and odd parity states. Also, we find a striking quantum mechanical feature of these eigenfunctions which show a non-zero probability of particle being outside the range of the potential. Thank you students for your kind attention.